Welcome everyone to our fourth installment of the What's Good series. In this series, we'll be taking a look at all the various inks in Lorcana, and today let's discuss what's good with Ruby. Whether you agree or disagree with my takes, please let us know in the comments. Now, each ink in Lorcana comes with its own flavor that we can see represented in the card mechanics and the various packages within Ruby. Now, Ravensburger has described Ruby Glimmers as daring. They use their speed and bravery to defy the odds. They're often warriors, explorers, and daredevils. First up in Ruby is the Removal package, which has single-handedly pushed Ruby into the top tier of colors with the various control decks revolving around these cards. First up is Dragonfire, which is a 5-cost inkless action that banishes chosen character. It's the simplest form of direct removal and is the standard by which all others are judged, really. Similarly, Maleficent has the same ability on a 7/5 2-lore body for a whopping 9 cost. Don't let that crazy cost fool you though, as Mal is an amazing top-in for these control decks that I mentioned earlier. Then we have the items, Poison Apple and Sword of Truth. Both are inkless and let you banish a princess or villain respectively by banishing that item, with Apple having a bit more utility as well. At first glance, these cards don't look all that good due to their restrictive nature, but after seeing how well they can perform in Lau's Tamatoa Toolbox deck, I had to change my tune. In general, these cards are hard to find a home for, but in that specific deck, they do work. And finally, we have the card that has single-handedly cemented Ruby into the first chapter meta, Be Prepared. This is a true board wipe, banishing all characters on the field. And the craziest part is that it's a song, meaning you can quest out with your board, sing Be Prepared, and then build your own board up before your opponent. Then, as your opponent's trying to build their board back, you can follow up with Maleficent Dragon, Sapphire Hades, or Elsa Spirit of Winter to stall out your opponent's board while continuing to build your own and cementing the win. This is the essence of most of the various control decks currently, and Be Prepared is particularly scary because, unlike single target removal, there is nothing that stops this card. Then we have what Ruby was originally known for, evasives. Evasives are great because they're a reliable lore generation tool that requires your opponent to either have removal or some way of targeting evasives to remove them. Pongo is a very solid card, though Emerald Tink does make him a little envious, as is Goofy. The one additional strength isn't particularly valuable on Tigger for the increased cost, but if you were going all in on evasives or playing a limited format, he's still an option. Mickey BLT, which has essentially become the face of the game, is in an interesting place. He is expensive, but if you can get him to stick, his 4 lore can absolutely win you games. Getting him to stick in a timely manner is where he struggles right now, though. Next up, we have our Ready to Challenge package. This one revolves around cards that have abilities that trigger when they challenge and banish a character, and cards that ready your characters so that they can do it again in the same turn, or protect them from being challenged in return. Mulan and Aladdin are our banishers here, though there are a few in steel as well. Mulan gives all your other characters an additional lore, which can be a huge swing if you have a wide board, or can get her ability off multiple times in a turn. She can be hard to pull off, but when she high rolls, you win. Aladdin is a bit more reliable and equally devastating, if not more so. When he banishes an opposing character, your opponent loses 2 lore and you gain 2 lore for a 4 lore swing, and your opponent is down a character. He is a bit expensive at 7 costs, but with his ability to shift onto other Aladdins for 5 and essentially gain rush, he is an incredible threat. Then, we have the cards that enable the 1-2 punch, Fan the Flames, LeFou, and Shield of Virtue. All of these cards allow you to ready chosen character for various costs and repeatability. Which ones fit into your deck are really going to depend on your particular build. Now, one neat interaction outside of allowing your characters to ready is that they can be used on your opponent's characters. So, if that bodyguard is stopping you from challenging their win con, or Mother Gothel is preventing you from questing for the game, ready him up and move on with your game plan. I've included Scar, Fiery Usurper, and he's got a sword here as well. Currently, Scar is just bad, but we could see him become more valuable as more cards are released. 3-cost Hyena Squad, anyone? Hey. And he's got a sword is just a simple combat trick that can help your Aladdin and Mulan take down bigger characters. Continuing with Ruby's penchant for running straight into danger is the Reckless/Rush package. Hook, Teika, and Pan, and Cut to the Chase really just aren't worth mentioning, so I won't. Gaston and Maui, though, most definitely are. Gaston is basically just cheap removal. He can be played around by your opponent, but that is still disrupting their game plan. Maui, on the other hand, is an incredible piece of removal. A 6/5 at 5 cost is generally hitting above his pay grade and surviving, meaning he's usually going to be a 2-for-1, and that rush lets him come out of the gate swinging, taking your opponent off guard. On top of that, he's still inkable, which makes him a very flexible addition to an aggressive deck. Next up is the Thief package, which revolves around removing lore from your opponent. We've already talked about Heroic Outlaw, who is the premier thief, but we also have Aladdin Street Rat, Rapunzel, and Tangle, which all cause each opponent to lose 1 lore, which means that Ruby players are hated in multiplayer. Of the 3, Street Rat is the easiest addition, as he is cheap and is a shift target for the Outlaw. Tangled being a 2-cost action makes it a bit less valuable, and Rapunzel being inkless means you'll have to evaluate your deck composition before including her, but she is on a decent body for her cost. And finally, we have our miscellaneous cards. The vanillas are fairly standard with the exception of Scar and Abu, who isn't on here for some reason. I don't know. Scar is a nasty challenger, but has been overshadowed by the much cheaper Gaston and the more threatening Maui. Abu, who isn't shown, is simply understated for his cost for some reason. I really don't know why they had to do him like that. Stitch isn't bad, he's just a Ruby version of Mufasa, but he doesn't really fit with what Ruby is trying to do, but hey, he's an option. Elsa Ice Surfer is really only playable in a Ruby Amethyst Elsa Anna deck, but even then, she's not great. And Ruby Moana's ability is so specific, and her stats so generic, that she's not really worth taking either. Well, that concludes this episode. Y'all know the deal. Like, subscribe, bell, check out the other videos in this series, and most definitely let me know what y'all think. What's good with Ruby?